Hi, guys. Welcome to Coffee, Tea, You and Me, the show that we do every single week for SWAM business leaders, small, women owned, and minority business leaders all over the country. We try to provide meaningful content, wonderful interaction, lots of prizes and gifts. We try to make sure that our audience is entertained as well as informed and enlightened about what's going on today. Um, we spend the first couple of minutes just chit chatting and getting up to speed on protocol and what we need to have happen. And I will open up the dialogue and discussion for anybody who is willing to share and has anything they would like to ask or find out. I've been doing this program now for 20 years, and I love sharing the right people, the right information, the right processes with business leaders, because I realize how important it is and how timely it can be when you might be struggling with an issue or struggling with some type of idea or concept, and you need to have some clarity. You need to have a bit of an understanding. Maybe you practice. Maybe you need to some practice skills or some literature that would help you really begin to understand what it's all about, whatever the problem is. And you may need some people that are sympathetic and empathetic to the same problem. So here's where you get all that right here at Coffee, Tea, You and Me every single week. I hope that you will take advantage of the opportunities that we're going to share with you today. And I hope that you will engage and feel comfortable sharing who you are and what you offer to the world, what you offer to the universe, because we find that that's one of the few ways that we can engage in today's pandemic world and feel like we're safe. So everybody's at home, everybody's enjoying this from the company of their own world, and so this is a great space just to be, and to be seen, to be known, to be understood, and to be felt. And I want you to know that I appreciate and feel every single one of you as we move through our current series, which is capitalizing on TrueVOICE, a program that I created maybe about 15 years ago. And I'll tell you a little bit about TrueVOICE before we get into the next series, and I'll try to recap some of what we already dealt with. TrueVOICE is an acronym, and it's a program that really is all about helping people to understand what their unique position is in the universe. What are they trying to say? Who are they trying to be? What are they trying to accomplish and gain appreciation for, and relevance and significance for, as they move throughout their lives, as they move throughout their business. And so the first week we did this, we went into sort of a deep dive into the overall vision of TrueVOICE and the reason why we started to do that. So you might want to go back to our first presentation, which would have been part one of the TrueVOICE series, and we did a big overview of how that history of it and how it evolved, and then we started getting into each of the elements. And the first element of TrueVOICE is voice. V. It really stands for vision. And what do we mean by that? It's important when you're trying to get to know someone and they're trying to get to know you, then you have an idea of what you're thinking, where you're thinking about going, where you're going to be, what's it going to look like when you arrive, what are you going to be able to be, do, and have as a result of getting to a place at some point in your future that you want to get to. Is it a destiny call? Is it a mission call? Is it just something that your values have called you to? How are you embracing this vision of where you want to go? We find that it's critical for people to understand each other's vision, because when you understand each other's vision, you can activate a ton of information and ideas and other resources for one another that you can't without an understanding, as clear as possible understanding of what their vision is. And the first couple of questions in the TrueVOICE questionnaire is really all about vision, and how do you explore it? How do you understand it? How do you use it? How do we move forward with the greatest amount of clarity that we possibly can have, and how do we articulate that in a way that other people can jump on board and help us out? It's critically important. Part two of the TrueVOICE process is O. O stands for opportunities and threats and objectives, right? So these are things that may get in your way, obstacles that may get in your way, things that may cause you to either slow down your progress or reconsider things. And there's obstacles, obviously, that we know about, and there's obstacles that we don't know about. So as we begin to journey toward our vision, right, we may bump into some things that we've already planned to bump into. So we've already been able to look at the resources we have. We've already been able to plan our way around or over or some way to negotiate that our obstacle. And we already know how to do it. We already know how to handle it. We've practiced, we've rehearsed, we've gone through the strategy. We have a well-written, well thought through process to deal with whatever obstacles that we're going to face, and we understand what those obstacles might be going forward because we've done our reconnaissance, we've done our testing, we've really looked into the future, and we've really seen what's possible, and we're headed toward that vision. But then there are obstacles that we don't know. These are the things that we find on our way towards whatever we're doing, something that we didn't consider, something that we didn't understand, something that we didn't know a lot about. Maybe nobody on our team saw it. Nobody understood this might be an obstacle. It missed all of our projections and plans. Inevitably, we will find those obstacles on the way to anything great, right? So we're going to find those missing obstacles, and then it's our responsibility to figure out what to do next. And we have to assess it, right? We have to determine, is this an obstacle that means we're going to turn around and go back? Is this an obstacle that's going to reroute us completely? Is this an obstacle that we can figure out how to negotiate on the fly in the moment so that we can make up lost ground or find a way through it to strengthen us and make us stronger? These are all possibilities with obstacles or challenges, depending on your perspective, right? We talked about that. It's very, very important that you understand how to do that. The next aspect of True Voice is I, and I stands for your instinct, right? Your instinct, your intuition, your insight. What are these things that you need internally to know and to be about and to understand in order to negotiate the obstacles and move towards your vision, right? If you understand where that instinct comes from, what things drive it, what are the concepts that help you grow in your insight, and what are the things that help diminish your insight so that it's not necessarily valuable. We talked about that. And then this week, we're moving into stage 4 of the True Voice process, which is commitments. What do we think about commitments? How do you use commitments? How do you do commitments? How do you show a level of commitment towards anything you want to try to do in order to create whatever you're trying to create? Now, the beauty about today's show is not only have we studied and honored commitment, but we're going to share with you some of the greatest thinking from the ancient wisdom that you might find in the Bible to some of the more powerful quotes that you may find in popular literature today, as well as some of the neuroscience behind the aspects of commitment. We're going to get into some exercises and some skill drills that are going to help you really, really understand and blow this commitment thing out, really understand how you use it as a tool. How do you help others use it as a tool? How do you create more commitment around you? How do you generate more commitment from yourself? We're going to go through all that. We're going to have all that great discussion. And in that time period, I want you to think through what commitment means to you. What are you truly committed to? How do you know? What are you deeply devoted to? How do you understand that devotion? How does that devotion show up in your character? How does it show up in your actions and what you're doing? If your deep devotion shows up, then you should be getting something in back from it. Not only you should be getting adoration and respect, right? You should be getting for yourself a deep focus. You should be getting a real level of clarity. Right. And you should also be making sure that you're able to now commit so thoroughly that you block out any distractions. So you should be clear, you should be focused, and you should get lots of energy from your level of commitment. But you truly have to understand not just what commitment is all about, but how do you activate it and how you cause others to activate it in order for the system to really, really work. And there are some I would say, dark areas of commitment. We're going to discuss those as well. All right. So it is now, we've been in about 10 minutes, and we're going to move towards the live broadcast in just a second, where we're going to get started. Hopefully you guys have already come into the chat room. You know what you're talking about. You know what you have ideas that I'd like for you. If you're coming into the chat, make sure that you announce who you are and where you met me. Let us know that, because I want to be able to see you're out there. I want to be able to give you a shout out. If you have a product or service that you think that you want to highlight, go ahead and put that information in the chat. I don't care. I'm not going to diminish your light in terms of letting you shine. So if you have an idea, a concept that you want to share with the people who are listening to this, that might even listen to this in posterity, go ahead and do that. I want you to I want you to recognize that today's show, as well as the rest of the season, all the way up through October, our show's gonna be sponsored by a conference that I'm putting together called the TrueVOICE Conference. The TrueVOICE Virtual Conference is going to be one of those phenomenal spaces that I'm looking forward to sharing with you after we have this quick commercial break, and we will come right back. Okay, boys and girls, welcome to Coffee to You and Me. Love to see you guys. Like I said earlier before a little break, if you want to participate and engage in our discussion, feel free to do so. Make sure you put your information in the chat. Make sure that you let me know who you are. I'll be asking some questions along the way. If you want to answer those questions, feel free. If we want to expound on something, you want to ask me a question, feel free to ask me a question. I will come back periodically, check the chat, and see how things are going. It is now about 12:16. We're going to get this party started. Welcome to Coffee, Tea, You and Me. Today's topic is brought to you by the TrueVOICE Virtual Conference. TrueVOICE Virtual Conference is something I've been working on now for many years, and it really, really helps entrepreneurs, business leaders, professionals of all types learn what they have to learn about each other to grow trust fast. That is important in business. If you cannot get high trust right away with your business partners, with your strategy partners, with your people that you might want to bring in your advisory council, or whatever you're doing with people when it comes to developing leadership or teamwork, if you can't get that trust going really quickly, then it's going to be very difficult. I suggest that you try the TrueVOICE process, learn everything you need to learn about it at the conference. Come on out. It's going to be an exciting time. We're going to have lots of guest speakers. We're going to have lots of prizes, lots of games, lots of interaction. It's all going to be virtual. So the only excuse you have is you don't want to spend a Saturday morning, updating your skills when it comes to learning how to develop professional relationships and creating professional relationships that you can leverage. I can't stress to you how important that is, even in today's COVID-driven world, right? Whatever we're doing for business, we need to develop relationships. We need to be better and better and better at developing professional relationships. And the TrueVOICE questionnaire, the TrueVOICE process, is probably the best system I've ever seen or ever known that will help you do that in a grand way. Think of being able to create the advisory council of your dreams. Think of being able to create the board of directors of your dreams. Think of being able to really, really share everything that you're all about, everything your business is all about, or nonprofit organization is all about, in a meaningful, powerful way to people who are going to support you, people who are going to be your stakeholders, people who are going to be your referral sources, and people who are just going to energize what you do. If you understand the magic of TrueVOICE, you could be a super person when it comes to leadership, when it comes to everything. You could be phenomenal. You could be great. And that's very important. So we're going to be doing a whole day conference. I hope you don't miss this. I'm trying to keep it small, so I don't want to have everybody and their mother involved. So make sure you go to get your ticket today. If you get your ticket, within the first, I'm going to say 20 people who get their ticket, I'm gonna give you so many bonus gifts, you're gonna lose your mind. I mean, I'm gonna give you the 100% closing ratio training program. I'm gonna give you the early access to the TrueVOICE program. I'm going to give you opportunities to come online and talk about, the conference, what you're looking forward to and all that kind of stuff. So I may even do a video call with you. I have to work all that out because it's a lot to do for 20 people, but I really think it's going to generate excitement. So I'm I'm open to doing it. So if you go ahead and get your ticket now, you're going to get maximum exposure. You're going to, all of our, the people who are going to be coming to the conference will see you. They will know you ahead of time. You got a chance to participate ahead of time and get some contacts and some things going, some good networking going far ahead of time. So you want to get your ticket now. Get your ticket. And the first 20 tickets, like I said, are going to get the executive packages. I'm probably going to do a personal coaching call with all of them too, at least 1 hour. We'll see about that. I don't know, but I'm willing to help anybody who's willing to help me. So get that ticket now. It's right there in the link. It's only $99, and the early bird price is only $99. It's going to go up to probably well over $130 as we get closer and closer to the time. So don't waste time. Don't worry about it. Don't be let all that disbelief and all the doubts and all that fears and all that kind of drama, let that go. Get yourself a ticket, get engaged, get involved. The more engaged you are, the more involved you are, the sooner you are engaged and involved, the more benefits you're going to receive. Not only are you going to receive the TrueVOICE process, you're going to receive 100% closing ratio. You're going to receive probably the 5 levels. I'll do that too. The 5 levels of communication, which teaches you literally how to give any presentation amazingly. And so anything I have in my shop, I'm giving it away to people who are early bird ticket holders. So let's make sure that you participate and engage and get that stuff in. Get it in now. Hurry up. Today's topic, let's get into it. Today's topic is, as I said earlier, is really all about making sure that you know how to deal with and expand on commitment. And so I'm going to pull a document here, and I'm going to share the document as well with you guys in the chat if I can. Let me see if I can do that. Here we go. Boom. Hit the share button, get the link. There it is. Okay. And let's figure out how to bring that back into the stream. Oh, here we go. All right. This is our study on commitment. And it's very much a part of TrueVOICE. Let's put it in here again. Make a mistake, not put the link in. Let's try that again. All right, there it is. Very much a part of TrueVOICE. And if you can't see the link in the chat as it comes through, whether you're watching on YouTube or you're watching on Facebook, no worries, because I'm about to put it in the show. There it is. There's the URL for the link for the training manual that we're going to be talking about today. I want to make sure you have it. And so you can download that right there, either on Facebook, or you look at your chat either on Facebook or YouTube, or you can pull it off the screen if you know how to do that. Pull it off the screen and you can have access to it. And in the meantime, I'm going to put my banner back up so you can see how to get in contact with me if you have any questions. And let's make sure I got it. That's good. That's perfect. All right then. Let's go back to the document itself. Here we go. Now, when we started talking about commitment, it's a serious aspect to our relationships. For I think what you'll come up with is some common sense approaches, but it's more than common sense that you have to understand when you truly want to work with commitment. If you're a leader and you want to get your team committed, you want to get them motivated, you want to get them engaged, you want to get them all in. If you are a team member and you want to increase your level of engagement, and you want to increase your level of commitment, you want to help your teammates, do more. You really have to understand what commitment is all about. When I first created the TrueVOICE process and we thought about commitment, right, in this process, I began to come up with lots of questions that I think is important to ask and answer when it comes to commitment. And if you look at the first page of the document that we share with you today, what you're going to see is that the first 3 questions that I asked up here are questions that come right out of the TrueVOICE process. So imagine yourself doing an interview with somebody, or a TrueVOICE interview with somebody, and you get to this section and you're going to ask them these questions. Question number 1 is, what promises should you make to begin the process of overcoming whatever obstacles that you've highlighted in previous questions, right? Previous ideas or previous concepts, right? So you're going to know what all the obstacles are. It's very, very important to understand those. Question number 2 might be, what should you know or do to make it easy? What should you know or do to make approaching, challenging, whatever obstacles that you have in front of you easier to do? All right, because when you start thinking about the obstacle, when you start writing down the obstacles, and this is very important, by the way, I suggest everybody do the TrueVOICE interview first on themselves before they do it on anybody else, because when you've done it on yourself, you have some articulation or some ideas or concepts that you know how to articulate for yourself. You might be able to help support somebody else by trying to do it, because it can be really, really intimidating when you ask some of these questions. It's super introspective right up front in a relationship, and you might want to do a couple of these yourself. I've done maybe 5 or 6 TrueVOICE assessments on myself, and I've done thousands for clients and for service providers and people that I've met along the way, people I want to add to my network, and discussing how I want to add them to my network. Having understanding their true voice has really helped me facilitate those relationships and make those relationships really, really work. So here we go. The third question in the TrueVOICE process is, what personal changes should you make to create more and better opportunities to achieve your goals? So if you look at the 3 questions and you look at the bullets underneath those 3 questions, the bullets are my answers to the TrueVOICE process at a time when I was doing my own self-assessment, right? So you may see that, when I say what promises that I make when I begin the process, what promises should I make to myself that I need to overcome the obstacles, right? And some obstacles that I found, and a couple of my promises were, I'm becoming a better volunteer in my community for conferences or for workshops or things like that, right? Identify even the best event coordinators in DMV, in the Washington metropolitan area. That way I can start to create relationships and start to strategically align myself with event coordinators who were doing events. I still work even virtually today. I get invited all the time to do presentations, to do speeches, to talk about some aspect of whatever's going on with small businesses now. And I love it. But if I didn't build those relationships with those event planners years ago, then I wouldn't have these opportunities I would have right now. The other thing I have to do is to overcome my obstacles is make sure I'm always building programs that attract the people in my demographic, right? If I build programs for small women-owned, minority-owned businesses, if I don't speak to them directly, I don't speak to the language that they need me to speak to, then that obstacle is something that I'm not going to be able to overcome, and I'm not going to be able to attract them, and I'm not going to be able to get in front of them. I'm not going to be able to serve them, which is what I'm all about, right? Now, question number 2 is, what should you do now to make things easy for yourself? For me, creating relationships with executive leaders for large trade associations would help. So learn how to do that. Learning how to use websites and all kinds of online tools and tricks and stuff like that. I'm doing that right now, right? Tracking e-commerce and talking to participants, making sure I understand how all the data works when it comes to the flows of the business and my business specifically, but how is it going to work with my participants, people who work with me, understanding what their experience might be, all useful information that will make it much easier for me to answer questions, overcome those problems that they may bump into. But all of this is all about dealing with obstacles, dealing with things that get in the way, and making a commitment to do so, right? Number 3 question is personal changes that should be made to create more better opportunities to achieve my goals, right? So for me, it's learning things like QuickBooks or CRM strategies. It might be identifying various corporate leaders who could create synergy along with me in the things that I'm doing, in like the workshop that I'm having coming up. Right, I'm going to have some of the best financial planners. Are going to be sponsoring this. Some of the best banking organizations are going to be sponsoring this. Some of the best venture capitalists are going to be throwing in. You're going to see their face pop up in panels and different discussions along the way around the conference, because I built those relationships, and I built those relationships specifically because they have something to partner with me on when it comes to delivering products and services for small businesses. And I'm one of the best at doing that. And so it's great to be able to share that opportunity with people that might be concerned about it as well. It's important for me. It was important for me then. Now it's not, because I've already dealt with this. It's find comfortable professional clothes, right? Learning how to figure out what the dress code I wanted to have happen when I'm doing my professional things as a business coach, right? And making sure that dress code was consistent with the brand that I want to participate in and I want to emulate, right? The last part of my goals and making those easier for myself is to recalculate any of the educational commitments that I have for my daughter, because I like a lot of times in her college exploits, right, we could find synergy. I learn as her professors are teaching her how to be a better student, right, how to learn and so on and so forth. I'm learning new techniques of what is expected in the millennial generation when they're studying and working through programs, or the what is her generation? I forgot what that generation is called. Right under the millenniums, whatever that is. But I'm learning to discover those people, which is incredible, like super important, right? So those are, the top 3 questions that you're going to ask when it comes to dealing with commitments. How are you dealing with your commitments? What do they mean to you? What are the better things for you to think about and do? And it's critically important to think about it. When you know these things, when you know what promises a person has to make, when you know what's going to make it easier for them to deliver on those promises, or what goals they may have to embrace or change in order to get them past their obstacles, you know a lot about them really quickly in a short period of time that others may never figure out, who, even those who say they love them or want to support them, may really not know all the challenges that they're facing. They really might not understand what it takes to overcome these challenges and what they're going to have to do to really face them so they can deal with them. And they certainly won't be able to offer support on things that they don't know. It's very difficult. And so you can make your relationships much easier when you practice this true voice process, when you practice articulating the commitments that you have, the commitments that you make, commitments that you need to make. These are critically important for developing the support you need to develop with other people. It shows that you're vulnerable. It shows that you're open and able, and it shows that you've thought through what you have to do. It increases your level of expertise in a big way. But let's move on. Now, there are some simple definitions to commitment, right? On one side, you're committed when you're dedicated to a cause, a person, or an activity, right? That's showing commitment. But often, commitment also does something for you. And what it does for you is it helps you engage deeply into whatever obligations or responsibilities you have. And in so doing, it restricts your freedom of action. You really, commitment helps you find boundaries that you can work within. Now, some people think those boundaries are restrictions, but I think those boundaries are opportunities to grow within them. And this is a matter of perspective. For every challenge, you're going to find that there's a limit in terms of the possibilities associated with that challenge. And what you want to try to do when you're facing a challenge is understand it completely for what it is and what it is not. Oftentimes, an obstacle that you have to commit resources to, right, represents an opportunity for you to grow. Represent an opportunity for you to push against the barriers, against the restrictions, and they provide resistance for you that makes you stronger. And as you get stronger, you get better and better at dealing with everything inside of those boundaries. And so, you know, there's something to truly understanding what commitment can do for you in dealing with that. Questions or ideas you might want to think about is not just the promises that you've made, but the level of devotion and readiness that is required to fulfill them. The people and concepts who you feel like you have some sort of dutiful connection to and responsibility for representing them well is very, very important to be able to articulate and describe. Your ability to say what you've experienced, the depth of your devotion, what you care about, whom you care about, why you care about what you care about, and who you care about. All those are things that help you deepen your commitment, help you deepen your level of engagement, but also helps when other people hear what it is you care about, what you're deeply ingrained in, what you're definitely involved in. They get a chance to make the decision for themselves. Do they want to align themselves and their resources with the things that you are also committed with? Do they want to be somewhat committed themselves, or do they want to go all in with you, or do they want to, because there's levels of commitment, right? There's the and it goes from the superficial level that I'm willing to listen to you talk to me about it, to I want to partner with you, and everything in between can indicate and highlight a level of consistency, a level of trust, a level of care, and commitment. Commitment, and this is a sort of a definition I want you to memorize when you think about commitment, is very much a declaration and a demonstration of all that makes a person worthy of trust. I'm going to say that again. Commitment is a declaration and a demonstration of everything that makes a person worthy of trust. Now, why is that important? Because trust is what creates effectiveness and efficiency in everything, specifically relationships. The more trust you have in relationships, the more you're going to give the person that you have the relationship with the benefit of the doubt, the less you're going to challenge them, their ideas, their concepts, their authority, the less you're going to ask questions that indicate that there's doubt, fear, hesitation, right? So you're going to just trust. You're going to commit because you have trust. If you don't have trust, it's very difficult to commit because your commitment can only be kind of half-hearted or sort of under-resourced. People say, I'm committed, but I'm only committed to a level, right? And really, nobody ever gives a full commitment to anything. No one loves unconditionally, right? It's impossible to actually do, but it is worthy of pursuit, especially if the benefits of making that commitment are worthy of your time, worthy of your energies, worthy of your passions. And so I would say for small business leaders out there, if you need to have support to do whatever it is that you do, you need to be willing and able to share and articulate what it is you're committed to, why you're committed to it, your level of devotion for it. Because the more you can do that, the more people can go, okay, I see you, I understand you. You're speaking from a level of credibility. You're speaking from a level of authenticity. You're speaking from a level of care and concern that can then become infectious. We're going to talk a little bit later about how you make your message and your ideas go viral, right? But commitment is a part of that. Being able to show what you're committed to, share who and what you're committed to is critically important. I see my girl Rose is in the audience and my girl Nancy is in the audience. I'm so glad that you guys are out there. It means a lot to me. Rose is one of the best at what she does when it comes to hypnotherapy and helping people really, really move forward. Rose, if you can, go ahead and put your information, your contact information in the chat as well so people can find you all over the world. If they need to find you, they know how to contact the best hypnotherapists out there. And same thing for you, Nancy. Nancy is an amazing writer. She's an amazing editor. She's an amazing, just all-around professional when it comes to anything involving enlightenment and growth and personal growth and development. She's much in the same camp that I'm in, and she creates brilliant illustrations and products. So if you want to literally take your conference from here to there in terms of illustrations and things you want to use to really highlight ideas and concepts, you definitely want to work with Nancy. She's got an eye for that and a very, very keen insight into that. So Nancy, if you could put your information in the chat as well, who you are, where you're coming from, that'd be great. This is a good time to pause for a brief exercise in commitment. When you think about commitment, right? Think about the benefits of commitment, and I'm going to share those with you in a second. There are probably levels of commitment you're thinking about. They're probably, like I said, moving from a superficial to the absolute, all in, full engaged type of commitment that you may have in a love relationship, or you may have in a business partnership. You're sharing your resources, you're sharing your heart, your soul, your passion, you're bringing your whole self into that commitment, right? That's a deeper level of commitment than you might be in a superficial level of commitment, where you're just trying to fulfill a basic need for now, kind of thing. That's different. And so when you think about it for yourself, though, when you think about telling someone else so they can really truly say they get you, they understand you. If you could only tell them one of your greatest commitments, what would that commitment be? Go ahead and write it in the chat if you want to engage with us. I really appreciate it. And why is that one commitment important? Is it a person? Is it a value? Is it a thing, an idea, a company? What is your deepest commitment? To really, really, if a person could say that I know them because I know their deepest commitment to this, what would it be? Who would it be? And if there's a name, go ahead and put the name in there. I don't care. Share it if you don't mind sharing it, or just maybe it's a title or role that someone that you know has. I think it's critically important that you're able to articulate your commitments first to yourself, but then also to the universe, because it's almost like when you can speak it out, everything lines up. And here's what happens when the universe becomes aligned to the things that you're committed to, the people that you're committed to, the efforts and energy that you have. All of a sudden, three things happen. One, you create tremendous clarity. So much so that you are able to say yes to all the right things and no to all the wrong things. That's the kind of clarity you get when you really fully expressed and delved into your commitment, right? The second thing you get from making a deep commitment is you increase your focus, laser focus. You really learn to look at what you're looking at in its minute details and see it for what it really is, and make sure that you maximize the level of concentration that you have to maximize to perfect your efforts towards it, right? You get to zero in on it. You get to dedicate your time, your effort, your energy. You need to put all the resources in the right direction. So someone says, what are we doing? What are we doing? You know exactly what we're doing. You know exactly where you're going. You know exactly what you're doing, and you've got it down to the tasks, the subtasks, the techniques, the strategies, as well as the all-encompassing habits that you need to develop. You got that all worked out, and so now you can focus, and you can back up your focus with an action. What I love about truly committed people who are not just committed in words, but committed in deeds, they usually can tell you how their commitment has increased over time. They can tell you that because of their practice, because of their discipline, because of their performance and the repeat performance, as well as their ability to continue to press forward more and more and more, over and over and over, getting better and better and better every time. They could tell you how their focus has been increased, and as a result, their commitment has been increased, because as they increase more clarity, they get more focus. Then all of a sudden, the third thing happens. They supercharge their energy. If you've ever read Miguel McChikmihai, who's a really, really high-level psychologist, you may have studied some of his works in the works of Dan Pink. Daniel Pink wrote a wonderful book, his first book out. I can't remember the title, will come to me in a second. But his first book out was really all about how do you get into flow state? How do you create a moment where your mojo's working, right? Where you've got a maximum amount of energy that you've you're putting on the thing that you're working in, the thing that you're doing, whether it's writing a piece of article or, helping with a client do something, or working through a complex problem that you may have with a series of clients. That energy, when it kicks in, when that clarity and that focus kicks in, when that commitment comes together for you, you're going to have a tremendous amount of energy that you would not even imagine that you would have. Not only will you have it from yourself, you'll have it from others. Because if you can articulate what you're doing, and you continue to share what you're doing well enough to the right people, all of a sudden you'll find that their energy jumps into the process and your energy jumps into the process. And collectively, you move massive things. You do great, amazing things all together right away. But when you don't fully commit, for whatever reason, maybe it's doubt, maybe it's fear, maybe you're hesitant because you might get rejected, or maybe it's some form of blame, shame, or fear that is stopping you from making that commitment to the thing that you know you should commit to in order to move yourself forward. That's a serious bit of business that could, if you get it wrong, could lead you and everybody around you to depression and anxiety and more fear and more hesitation and more doubt. And you just don't want to do it. You just want to make sure that you don't spend time, effort, and energy in that space. So I'm going to tell you a quick story. It's a true story. It happened to me. I was 10 years old. I was running around with my life, and I was confused about a couple things. And I wasn't necessarily paying attention to school. I had moved to a new school district, and my parents had we had recently moved from a place in Southeast DC into Bowling Air Force Base. For those of you familiar with Bowling Air Force Base, that was there. And it was another of a series of moves that we had made because being a Navy brat, I moved all the time. And I was just tired of moving. And I was 10 years old, and I was just getting sick of it. And so I wasn't necessarily giving it my all in school. I wasn't doing the best that I could do. I was already one of the smartest kids in the school. And so it was easy to sort of dial it in and be lazy about what I was doing. So my mother made me a promise. She came to me. It was like 4 weeks toward the end of the school year. And she said to me, I want you to work really hard for the next 4 weeks because I got a really, really special surprise for you. You're going to love it. Now, she didn't tell me what it was, and I begged and pleaded, tell me what it is, tell me what it is, tell me what it is. And, she wouldn't tell me what it was. And I said, okay, all right, I'm going to work hard, double down in school. Did all the work, did all the assignments, talked to all my teachers, was respective, quiet in class, just the model student. Crushed it, did really well in that. And for the rest, basically what I did in 4 weeks kind of summed up, the possibilities for an entire school year. I did a great job, right? And so I expected when I came home, my surprise would be there. And I had blown this up in my own mind. So I was going to get a brand new bike, or I was going to join Little League, or I was going to be able to do all manner of kind of fun things that I had already planned in my mind that I needed to have to make sure I had the best, most fun summer ever. Now, this is the 10th grade summer. No, 5th grade summer, and I'm about to go into 6th grade. So this is between 5th and 6th grade. And I'm like, this is going to be the best summer, and my mom's got this wonderful surprise for me. We're going to kick it all off, and it's going to be amazing. So I come home from school, only to find out that the very next day, it's a Friday afternoon, I find out the very next day, Saturday afternoon, Saturday morning, I'm leaving to go visit a family member in Pennsylvania. and I ended up in Uniontown, Pennsylvania, visiting a cousin of ours. And I went with another cousin of mine. He was my age. Well, actually, he was 14, I was 10. And he was much older than me, as a matter of fact. But we were going together to visit our cousin, who was sort of like a great auntie for both of us, and just to spend 2 weeks with her. I did not know why we were both assigned to go visit that cousin in Uniontown, Pennsylvania. But I knew that I was going to get a big surprise when I came back home. So I didn't even focus on the fact that it was cold sometimes up there in Uniontown, even though it was approaching the summertime, it was still cold up there. And I didn't know how to dress for that area. I didn't know that we were going to have a change in atmosphere. But anyway, so I found myself cold a lot for those 2 weeks, and trying to wear my cousin's clothes, and I was bigger than him at that point. So even though he was 14, I was 10, I was taller, and so we couldn't even wear the same clothes anymore, not the same shoes, nothing like that. So that wasn't working anymore. And I think that it was a drag for him to try to drag around his younger cousin for that entire 2 weeks. He was going to be there, I think, for the whole summer. I was only going to be there for 2 weeks. So it wasn't a fun 2 weeks. Let's just put it that way. And I really, really, really had a miserable time. And I mean, nobody wanted me to have a miserable time. It's just that, it was an unplanned kind of impromptu event. And it wasn't what I thought that was going to happen. And it wasn't what my parents wanted for me. It just kind of happened. And there I am. So it's 2 weeks in, and I'm disgusted. I'm so glad to leave Pennsylvania and come back home to the Washington metropolitan area. Came back home. And wouldn't you know, the day I came back home, it was move out day. We were moving again. No, there was no bike. No, there was no Little League. No, I didn't get to say goodbye to my friends. I had to then come back, which the house was empty. I remember my auntie and my uncle dropped me off, and the house was empty. My parents were in there just scrubbing away, on all the bathrooms, all the floors, all the ceilings, all the walls, carpet and everything had to be tip-top shape as we left the post and was moving on to our new location. And I was like, what are we doing? Where are we going? We're moving again. I didn't even get a chance to say goodbye to my friends. I was immediately frustrated, immediately upset. Like, what is this surprise all about? My mother says, we're going to a new home. That's your new surprise. We're going to a new home. Like, a new home? That's the surprise? That's for me? That sounds like this is for you. So needless to say, I was not a happy camper when we moved from the inner city out to the suburbs, and I didn't even know a soul. I couldn't say bye to my friends. And I didn't know what to do. I imagine a 10-year-old boy used to going outside, having a lot of fun, jumping around all the time, doing all kinds of fun stuff. And none of that. I was like, there's nothing available. There's no place I could walk to, no place I could ride my bike to do anything. No community center, no nothing. It was just the suburbs. And it was nothing there. It's like, oh, wow. So we're out in the suburbs of PG County. And the moral of the story is, mother had set this expectation with a promise. She had made a commitment. She made a promise, and in my mind, I made a commitment back. And I committed to do the work that she asked me to do, to focus like she asked me to do, behave like she asked me to do, and I was going to get a reward. Well, my reward was not something that I would want. It wasn't adequate. In fact, it started a cascade of so many disappointments that I had that I lost faith and trust in my parents. And in fact, every adult that I was working with at the time, aunties, uncles, everybody. And I didn't spend the summer in our new home. I spent the summer down south, down in my grandparents' home. And I was like, I don't want to come back. I don't want to come back home. I don't want to be with these people again. I don't trust them. And it took a long time, years, as a matter of fact, for me to regain that trust, for me to gain that faith, that hope, and to turn around and do some positive things. I didn't know what I was dealing with, but I probably was dealing with some kind of depression, now that I think about it, at a young age. And it was a while. It was almost till high school before I started to see a light possibility in my life and things that open up for me. I say all that to say you got to be careful about commitments. You got to be careful about the commitments that you make. You got to be careful about how those commitments can be received, how the promises that you make can be received by others and what they mean. And if you don't articulate well, if you don't say, no, this is what I mean by this, and this is how this is going to look, and a person says, oh yeah, I want that. That's important to me. I can see how that's important to you, and I understand it completely. So let's do it. If you don't get that level, you could cause some serious problems. That's what I said earlier about the dark side of commitment. You can overcommit quite by mistake. You can commit more than you believe that you can commit more than you can actually accomplish, and that's going to cause stress, right? A person can expect more than you've actually committed, and that's going to cause stress. And the more you do that, the more disappointment becomes the reality. And instead of moving towards greatness, instead of moving towards clarity, moving towards focus, moving towards more energy, you're moving against all those three things. And you're starting to experience anxiety and depression. Things are starting to slow down. You're starting to get weaker. You're not getting stronger. And so you have to be careful with commitment. That's why commitment without appropriate communication is terrible for all parties concerned. And without the intention of causing amazing things to happen, what ends up happening is people get damaged, people get hurt. And I got a feeling that people get hurt more than they should. Well, I know they get hurt more than they should. And a lot of it has to do with this understanding of commitment. How do you use it? How do you grow from it? How do you inspire others to it? All those things. So I'm going to share with you really quickly a little of what the good book says about commitment. And then we're going to move on after that. And I like to share this because I believe that, the Bible itself, if it wasn't divinely inspired, let's just say it wasn't. Let's just say it's a document, an old book. It is so full of wisdom and information of how things might go if we were to believe. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But here's what the Bible says about commitment. The commitment that you make to righteous thought and activity is the key to developing a foundation of love and blessings in your life. The word in the Bible can be used to provide certainty, to help you live your life moving forward instead of holding on to the past glories and lording them over others. If you commit to inclusion, you can avoid tragic mistakes. You can multiply your collective strengths for almost anything you can imagine doing. All you got to do is take the steps to love completely and consciously, and then you'll have nothing to fear. Now, if you look at that, and this is on page 4 of the document, right? You look at a breakdown of the 11 different strategies and the quotes from the Bible. It's an amazing resource. It's an amazing strategy that might help you do a couple things, but interspersed in between the language that comes straight from the good book, right? You're going to find some exercises, and in those exercises, there are links to ideas and concepts. So in one of the first ones here, learning how to activate your commitment, right? I find that keeping and developing habit trackers are great ways to do that. And there's a link to what habit trackers are and some of the things that you might want to find in a habit tracker. But literally, if you could list out your daily, weekly, monthly habits, right? And then you could provide a grid of some type that you might want to look at and go. Some people use a calendar, some people just create a grid. And every time you do the habit that you're trying to do, right? Whether it's drink water or 3 times a day, or have the right kind of meals, stay within the calorie level, find ways to do whatever it is that you're trying to do. Like, for instance, My daily habits are written in my planner on what I call a tab, or what I don't call it a tab. Franklin Covey calls it a tab. But it's my daily task list, right? Right here on this task, right? These are tasks that I have to do every day. Pray, read for an hour, work out, record my meals, clean something in my house, in my office for 15 minutes, take my vitamins, wake up early every day, floss my teeth. These are things that are daily habits. And when I'm really good, I put them on a habit tracker. And then I put them on a habit tracker along with some other habits that I want to do and change, and measure them. Now every day I look at those habits and I see a visual illustration of myself accomplishing, achieving the things I want to accomplish, and I gamify that, right? I make it so that it's fun to do. I create little fun techniques and strategies. How can I do this better, faster? How can I do this better than I did yesterday? You know, everything I'm trying to do in my tracker, I try to get better at it, faster, more efficient, more effective. I want to be better. And in pursuing that makes it a lot of fun, because I see myself doing the things I want to do, changing the habits I want to change, becoming the person that I want to become every day. And I see an illustration of how that's all unfolding in front of me. And after a month, I got, my habit tracker is filled with all these beautiful colors. And every once in a while, I may miss a day when I didn't do a habit or whatever, but I got right back on it the next day, kind of thing. If I missed 2 days, then I got back on it after that. And it's really about consistency over time too. As now, when I go back and I do my reflections on, say, the month that I had, I get to see what I did well with, what I did not so well with. I get to make suggestions to myself that I might want to improve. Maybe try a different tracker, or make it. Maybe I didn't break the task down in small enough levels so it's something I could do, right? And so it's very, very important that you find a method to make your commitments work. You don't just make the commitments. You have to create the engine that makes the commitments work. If not, then you find that you are what they call, a big hat, no cattle, right? You talk a lot, you're not going anywhere. Now, the last section I want to talk about when it comes to dealing with commitments, and I love to hear your ideas about any of these things. When you are looking through these ideas, some of the commitments that I have, I call these the 11 laws of leadership commitment. And you may have seen some of the posts that I've shared about that. And I think if I could dig one of those up, I might even share it right here with you guys on, because I know I've been posting a lot on LinkedIn and different social media places where I love to play. Let me see if I can find one of these. This will work. Yes. Okay, I'm going to give you everybody a link to a post that I made, and if you can open it up on your computer, great. If you can't, I understand. You can open it up, check it out a little bit later. But there's a nice little illustration that I created. I'm getting like you, Nancy. I'm starting to get creative in my old age. Not that you are old, but I am. Okay, so if you look at the bottom of that illustration or that bottom of that post, you're going to see a photograph, and it's like me thinking, right? And there's a graphic there that's really about a mathematical representation of what it takes, what commitment takes, and how commitment can lead you to greatness, right? So if you put the effort in, if you put the reflection time in, and you take the time that you put in, right, you're going to become great. But you have to commit to the effort, you have to commit to the reflection, and you have to commit to the time. If you don't commit to those things, then you're not going to be able to achieve greatness. That's the math of greatness, right? And it all requires commitment. You don't have to commit to greatness. You become great by committing to the elements and the things that make greatness a possibility. So let's talk a little bit about what I mean by effort. You probably get that. That's the work, right? the real work, the work that needs to be done towards the thing that you're trying to get done, not just any work, the specific work that you need to be done. That's the effort, right? Reflection, though, is the time you spent thinking about the work that you've done. And so if you've done the work on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, you should be journaling your reflections. You should be journaling what the feedback that you've gotten from the universe. So you should be looking at the things that people have said. You should be looking at the things that people are doing as a result of the things that you're doing. You should be looking at how they're receiving you. You should be looking at, what you think internally, how it's reflective of your values or not. That's all what you do in your reflection time. Your reflection time can look like your mindfulness practice. It could look like your prayer time. It could look like your meditation time. That's when you're doing the thinking, the deep thinking. And then you're going to journal what you come up with. And if you reflect back on your journal post over a period of time, you have stuff you need for your annual reviews, your annual reflection, right? You get a chance to assess your strengths, your weaknesses, the things that you are need to work on in order to keep improving, keep moving forward. So that's the master of greatness. But I love this quote. If you don't have choices, then you're not free. But then again, if you don't commit to freedom, you soon run out of choices. As an uncommitted life lacks clarity, focus, and energy, this is not liberty. This is chaos. When I really began to understand the power of making sure that you know how to make commitments and make them stick, I realized that back to the dark side, people look at commitment sometimes and they think it's limiting. They go, if I commit to this idea, that means I'm also not committing to another idea. And that's true. However, within the boundaries of the idea that you have committed to, the person you have committed to, the relationship you've committed to, the business you've committed to, within those boundaries, it's all types of freedom. That if you don't take the time to explore, you'll never understand. And what the commitment does is it helps you focus. It helps you crowd the noise out. It helps you deliver on the objectives that you're trying to deliver, the maximum amount of energy that you can muster. And it helps you really truly explore it and either rule it in or rule it out. Right? But if you never commit, then everything's possible. Everything is up in the air. Nothing is true. Nothing is what you want it to be or what you think it might be. And if it isn't, you'll never know it because you've never committed enough time, effort, and energy to figure it out. So I think that's an important illustration to keep in front of you, important idea to keep in front of you. Commitment is not something that you have to be afraid of because it's going to limit your freedom. It's not true. We'll talk more about that in a brief second. I'm going to run down the 11 laws of leadership and commitment really quick with you. Number 1, doubt removal. You got to get rid of it. You got to do anything that you can do to erase any level of uncertainty, distrust, suspicion for yourself or your team. You got to do it. Number 2, you have to bring your unconditional best to the things that the things, the people and places you should be committed to. If you bring that, I would, but I can't because of this, because of that, you got all these objections, you got all these hesitations, you got all these things that keep you from bringing your A game, then you're never going to benefit from a commitment because you're not making it. You're not making a full commitment if you're not all in to the best of your ability. Right? So think about that. What does that cost you? That costs you energy. That costs you focus. That costs you clarity, which means you're going to be distracted. You're not going to bring enough juice to the table, right? And you certainly won't know where you're going because you're not focused. And it's going to look like that. Now, ask somebody to trust you when you appear to them as a person who's not committed, and see what kind of faith and hope and belief you get back from them. Right? So you got to bring your best. Number one, get rid of the doubt. Number two, let's make sure you bring your best, bring your A game. Number three, make the promise first. Don't be shy. Don't be scared to make promises. Once you know what you need to know, then make the commitment. First, commit to learning everything you got to learn. Then commit to the action that you have to commit to. Make the promise, make it stick. Be bold enough and willing to make and keep your important commitments first. Don't wait for somebody else to go, well, if this, then that. No. Yes, the law of reciprocity works, but it works when you initiate it better. So go ahead and get the process started. Get the process of harvesting and reaping coming in your direction. That means you got to do that thing. You got to sow the seed. You got to weed that garden. You got to water that sucker. You got to go back and pull those weeds up, and you got to make sure that you have a great harvest. If not, and finally, you got to pull everything up. You got to do it. If you don't do it, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. It's not how the universe works. It's not how anybody works. So be willing to make that promises. I love number 4. Number 4 is we win. Think we win. We. There's no I in team. Always, always, always. Whatever major moves you're planning, whatever major moves you're thinking about, whatever major moves you want to accomplish in your life, bring somebody with you. Don't do it alone. The more you have, the more of a team you have, the stronger you are. The more you can distribute the load across the team. The more you can use individual specialties to bring it together into something that's magical. But if you think you're going to win big by yourself, I don't think so. Even the best of the best, even solo sports like tennis, they have a whole team of people that support them, a whole entourage. Coaches and therapists and people that work with them, agents and marketers and producers and people who work with them for different things. Without them, they would fail. So think about that. You might as well not do it alone, since you're not going to succeed alone. You might as well go for it. Grab some people, bring them with you. Number 5, reciprocal devotion. Remember that commitment is an investment in possibilities that will always, always pay off. It might not pay off in the direction that you wanted to pay off, but when you commit and you focus, you bring that energy, you bring that clarity, I can't imagine what you're going to learn faster or harder or better from doing. You got to do that. So make sure that you grow, and that's what's going to happen. The more you commit it, the more you devote it, the more growth comes back at you. It's like action reaction. It's the way the universe works. Number 7, develop a discipline and habit. We talked about this earlier. The more you can increase your habits, the more you can develop your habits. That's, again, habits that are focused on the things that you should be focused on to move yourself forward, right? You don't want the accidental habits. The accidental habits are the habits that you just kind of found, you kind of fell upon, and they'll probably feel really good. You know, the ice cream habit or the cakes and pies. That's my favorite. It could be coffee. It could be anything that you fall in love with, right? And you find yourself doing habitually, regularly, all the time. It might not be good for you, but you're doing it, and it's hard to stop a habit once you got the habit started. It doesn't matter what it is. Humans are so subjective. We can be addicted to anything. Anything. If you don't really focus on making sure that your habits are aligned with the best version of yourself, the person you really wish to be, the person you're trying to achieve, trying to become. If it's not aligned with your vision, your mission, there's a habit that's wasting your time. It's not helping you. If it's not aligning, you with your purpose and the reason why you're here, making you stronger, these are bad habits. You want to get rid of those. Those are toxic habits. Those are habits that you need to commit yourself out of. Commit to a different habit. It's opposite, whatever its opposite is, right? If your habit is to get drunk and inebriated, I'm not saying don't get high, but get high on another place, in another way. That's going to be healthy and not toxic for you. That's not going to crush your liver and kidney, right? Where was I? This one habit got that number 7. Number 8, winning surrender. I love this one. This one is a play on words, but really is about sacrifice. Understanding that you cannot win, you cannot get there without making the sacrifice. And the sacrifice is not something that should be hard or arduous. It should be something that you willingly do because you want to receive the benefits. If you find yourself sacrificing, you don't know why, that's a problem. Go figure it out. All right. Number 9, follow your talent. Follow your talent. Follow the talent of others. Talent. In order for you to do this well, you got to understand what talent is. Here's what talent is not. Talent is not your knowledge. It's not your skills. It's not your abilities. These are things that everybody can learn. Everybody can do. Everybody can do KSAs. Everybody can do this. Everybody can develop skill. Everybody can develop the knowledge. Everybody can develop the abilities. Let's get out of that. Habit, though. Talent is the sexy part of these things. It is the thing that you uniquely bring to the table after you've mastered and disciplined the habits or the skills that you need to develop. Once you've mastered the skill, you can now add your own innovation on it. You can now add what your unique interpretation of it is. You can look at how you've learned to do it and do it special. Do it in a way that only you can do it. Now, you got something special. That's talent. Talent is bankable. Talent is something that can be leveraged. Skills can be taught. Talent can be leveraged. It becomes valuable because very few people can do it, not the way you do it. So think about that. Where are you talented? Where are your gifts? Where are you doubling down? Where are you committing to grow? Follow your talent and you'll get there faster. Number 10, empower feedback. This is one of my favorites too, because you must know that I talked to you a little bit about that reflection time earlier. If you're not working from feedback, which is information, data that you've gotten from your activities, how do you know that you're doing it right? How do you know you're doing it well? How do you know that it's good? And you should do more of it. How do you know what you should do more of if you're not getting the feedback? This is a difficult thing for people because we're scared that the feedback might be negative feedback. Stop it. Feedback is feedback. Don't give it a character. Don't give it any type of hold over you. Learn to ask for and appreciate all of the feedback that you get. Learn to appreciate the feedback you didn't ask for. Might be criticism, but appreciate it anyway. Here's why. Somebody took their time to pay attention to you and share with you their thoughts. They made an investment in you. They may regret that they made that investment in you, but yet and still they made that investment in you. And so that is something that you should encourage. You should encourage specifically your stakeholders, your referral sources, your supporters, your family, your friends, to pay attention to what you're doing and give you feedback, what their thoughts are. Now, what do you do when you get the feedback? You say thank you. You need to be appreciative for the feedback you get. Because if you do it well, in terms of appreciation, respect, affection, praise for somebody who gave you the feedback, they're more likely to continue to pay attention to you and continue to give you more feedback. That is one of the biggest secrets to recruiting people to your side, to your team. Find people who are, one of the exercises I have in the program is to go ahead and find people who are already excellent at what you're trying to be excellent at. Share with them what you're doing. Show them your practice schedule. Show them, your rehearsal setup, and get their feedback. Tell them you want their feedback. If you need to pay them for their feedback, pay them for their feedback, because they can tell you what's working, what's not working, what they like, what they don't like, what's good, what's not good. If you're on the right path, or you're totally off the chart. No matter how you slice it, feedback is an amazing thing. Without it, you don't have the information, you don't have the data to move yourself forward. And the last thing you want to do is understand, number 11, order is freedom. Because on the other side of discipline, on the other side of regimentation, is the gift of your uniqueness and your talent being able to be expressed fully. And there's nothing more freeing than that. And so I challenge you to really learn, to really understand, to really deepen your connection and your commitment to doing the things that you need to do to be successful, meeting the people that you have to meet, engaging with the information and processes that you need to in order for you to be great at what you do. That's why I like working with small businesses, because small businesses can afford to do this. When you work about your development, it is about your development. It's not about the company procedure or process, blah, blah, blah. You get to innovate and create on your own for yourself. I love you swaying business leaders. I love you out there. You take on huge responsibilities to set an example, to do great things for the community. And I want to do everything I can to help you. If I haven't talked to you already, if you haven't gotten it already, make sure you check out the TrueVOICE virtual program that I'm going to be offering in October. It's going to be amazing. I want you to enjoy yourself. Come on out. Get your tickets early. If you get your tickets early, you're going to get, advanced copies of tons of content that I have to share with entrepreneurs. You're going to get advanced interview opportunities and all kinds of great stuff. But you got to get your ticket. If you don't get your ticket, I can't help you. You can't help me. I can't help you. And that's kind of how that works. And so I put a lot of effort and energy into creating an amazing day with great speakers, amazing content. It's going to be a good time for everybody. All you got to do is get that ticket. And it's in the chat, so you can download it, you can check it out for yourself. If you have a problem getting the ticket and you need a scholarship, talk to me. My number is right across the screen. I might be able to hook you up with a little something. But again, I need your engagement. I need you involved. I need you actively participating in the process. And in that way, we all win. You win, I win. We have a great time. It's 4:19. I'm going to call it to a close. If anybody have any questions or any thoughts they want to share, feel free to do so in the chat, and I will check it out. I see my girl Nancy still out there. Thank you very much, Nancy. And I see Rose is still out there as well. You guys are amazing. I love you both. If you ever have any questions about anything, you know how to contact, you know how to find me. My number is scrolling across the screen right now, as a matter of fact. And I'm going to sign off in just a few seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, and goodbye, good evening, and good night.